The Senate bill guaranteed access to the fees by effectively removing the Patent Office funding from the normal appropriations process. The House bill reversed that and keeps the funding of the PTO in the appropriations process. So the end result, if the Senate accepts the House funding provision, is that the Patent Office will only get whatever amount of fee money that the House appropriators are willing to give it, and my prediction is that they'll give it $2.1 billion, in which case the Patent Office will lose about a third of its funding, something north of $600 million, and it desperately needs every one of those dollars. So the Senate got it right, the House got it wrong, and now the Senate's being bullied into accepting the lousy House provision because of fear that if they restore the provision that 95 senators voted in favor of, that the House won't like it. And I think the Senate should get its courage up and face down the House and make the bill work.
Hi, Joe Mattal with Senator Kyle. I had a question for you, Judge. When you spoke about the Boehner-Rogers agreement on fee diversion, you said, it's great if they pass an appropriations bill, but if they pass a CR, that's not going to work. Why do you assume that agreement wouldn't extend to CRs? The appropriators also produce the CRs. Why wouldn't they be bound by the commitment if they do a CR rather than an appropriations bill?
Well, the CR would have to have in it a blatant anomaly favoring the Patent Office and no other agency or department in the entire government. And the pressure of the budget hawks is going to be to say, no anomalies. Not any agency, not for any reason, no anomalies. Why? Because if you have one, then there's the worry that you've opened the door and other people will fight for an anomaly for some other agency. I can't predict the future with confidence any more than anyone else in this room, but I will be absolutely amazed if the CR allows the Patent Office to spend the estimated $2.7 billion in expected fee collections. I think what's going to happen is they're going to be frozen at this year's level, and under this year's level, they've frozen all hiring. They've frozen the Speed Up program. They've frozen most of the programs to revamp the IT systems. So they're dead in the water this year because of the current funding restrictions. And the House budget hawks are going to try to force those same funding restrictions for the next fiscal year that comes up in just weeks. So I don't see any basis for thinking that the House is going to allow an anomaly in the inevitable CR.
Well, I'd agree it's an anomaly, but they did commit to allowing the office to spend above the appropriated amount if they collect more fees. I agree it's different, but they said they'd do it.
Well, if they were passing an appropriation, maybe, because they did put it in their committee-approved appropriations bill. But in the context of a CR, I just don't see there's any way that the House budget hawks are going to agree to an anomaly unless the Senate forces them to, either by restoring the Coburn Amendment or by some other device such as passing a sense of the Senate resolution that the Patent Office has to be fully funded, has to have unlimited access to all its fees. Not a year later, not with subsequent permission of the appropriators, but automatically, which is effectively what Coburn's amendment did.
Judge, where are you on first to file? Should the United States move to a first to file system, whether it's bill or something else?
I think it's a very close call. I'm told that the large companies that file abroad routinely already operate as if we had a first to file system, and that therefore shifting officially to that system would not change their behavior. They already are doing it. I think
Bertman has made this point.
First to file has some disadvantages for smaller companies because it creates pressure, I think, no one probably can prove it one way or the other, to file earlier and more frequently as the technology is developed, which obviously adds to costs of the companies that are the most vulnerable and the least well financed. So I think it's a very close call. But even if first to file, on balance, is more to the good than the harm, which I'm not prepared to say, but even so, the gain there, if there is a gain, isn't worth the risk of wrecking the patent office and the patent system. Look, I can guarantee you that if I went into private practice, I could hold up any patent for almost a decade in post-grant proceedings. It would never get to trial in the district court. Now, if patents as a practical matter that have any commercial value can be held up for almost a decade in the patent office before you get the court enforcement proceeding moving forward, then the value of that patent plummets. It's not enforceable for almost a decade. So,
And what do you think that's going to do to, as investors?
of
I'm
course,
not
the
interested in-
incentive for investment goes down. So if the gain of first to file, whatever it might be, is marginal, which I think it is, assuming there is a gain, for the harms to the patent system of post-grant review and insufficient funding, it's just not worth it, not even close. It's a big setback, not a step forward. And the idea that it's going to create jobs is a joke. Look, to create jobs, what you need to do is take the 1.2 million patent applications that are on file that have been sitting there for years and clear that backlog very rapidly and very carefully. That would actually create jobs. But passing the bill is going to slow down the queue, not speed it up. So how can it possibly create jobs?